You're listening to Cynthia and Josie's Unmentionables.
With Josie's really red hair.
I like your hair. It looks ombre.
We're
it
going
looks
blonde.
You're going blonde. I
We're
love
going
you
back
blonde. I love you
blonde.
brunette, but I love you blonde.
It's going to take a while. I think people in my life feel like it's going to go back to blonde like in months, but it's not.
No, because you would end up having to you lose your
You'd
hair.
lose my hair.
Yeah.
So it just takes
How
takes
does
a
Kim
bit.
Kardashian seem to do it like overnight? Oh, it's wigs.
It's wigs. She does wigs forever until like the last one, and then she's like, "Oh, look, I'm blonde."
Oh, that makes a lot of sense actually. But we don't have Kardashian money.
We don't have Kardashian wig money. That's like $5,000 a wig.
Oh my God. Well, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I mean, guys, we did our very first live podcast. Thank you all for whoever showed up. We had.
It was unbelievable.
It was unbelievable.
How many people showed? I couldn't believe it. I thought I had to beg people to come. Like a few days before, I was calling friends, going, "Please come!" And then I show up, and I'm like, "Who are all these people?"
We were backstage, and Josie kept looking up, being like, "Cynthia, there's people here. There's people. There's people. There's like a lot of people here."
I was like, "Wow, why are these people here?" It's all for you.
It was so fun, and I think it was a really warm crowd. And our audience coordinator from the Social, Derek Forgy, who's my friend, he came and I call him a fluffer. Like he basically does what a fluffer does on a porn set, but not in a very non-sexual way.
Right.
Gets the crowd going, gets them excited, and he's like,
some people don't know what a fluffer is. Do you want to explain?
Oh yeah, a fluffer in a porn set ends up getting the guys hard, making sure that there's wood on set, so to speak,
before it all starts.
So and they don't want to get the guy bored of the main target. Anyway, it's kind of not a fair analogy. This is a terrible analogy.
Poor Derek.
I take it back. He's an audience warm-up guy, and he's amazing at it.
Yeah, he's really good. He was wonderful.
Yeah.
So I guess that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to debrief.
Well, I think debrief, but also I think there was a whole other story going on that we didn't really get into at the live podcast. And we also didn't get into all the audience questions, which we are going to answer some of those today as well.
Yes.
But you had an escalation going on behind the scenes.
I did.
That culminated on the day of our podcast.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about it?
Yeah. So, my son, now we've totally diagnosed with OCD. He has Soto syndrome, but it comes with a loop bag of symptoms, and OCD is one of them. And I didn't really understand OCD until this week. I didn't really get it. You know, when everyone's like, "Oh yeah, I say it like, oh, my husband, he's got OCD. He likes everything clean." Like, it's not that at all. I mean, I understand why they say things like that, but it's basically intrusive thoughts that ruminate, and you have a thought and then you get stuck on the thought. And then once it scares you, it's almost like you cannot stop thinking about that thought. You think about ways to fix that thought. So if the thought is like, let's just say I'm colorblind, which he's had this thought before, he starts thinking like, how can I not be colorblind? When he was young, he had a fear of his teeth, and his one tooth was loose. And then it got to a point where he was asking me how you can glue your teeth inside your mouth, right? And I have to pay thousands to go to Sick Kids for dentistry because of this thought that was ruminating in his head. So that is OCD. The problem is that it's actually, you can really get into a loop. And when you get into a loop and you ask for reassurance from people all the time, and you get a little bit of reassurance from people say, it's okay. It makes it worse.
Because they become dependent on those reassurances, and they start to believe those thoughts in a way. I can understand this because I've actually known people with extreme OCD, and sometimes, again, it comes in so many different flavors, but oftentimes people who I've known have had superstitious beliefs. Sure. And it's like, if I don't, turn the doorknob 6 times and twirl around and wear a red dress on Sundays or something like that, like they've decided that this pattern of things that they do are the only things that are keeping themselves safe or someone else safe. And that
is definitely part of it. Like, for instance, even now, there's 3 things that is sort of, he says, is helping him. One is to be in my bed. The other is to be on the bidet. I don't know.
Right.
Sorry, it's weird.
I'd like to be on the bidet right now. Yeah, heated seat. Yeah. Okay.
And there's like other things. So, so anyway, I've learned a lot about this, and he got in himself in a loop that was so bad that he didn't want to eat. He didn't want to, this is the second time this month this has happened. He didn't want to eat. He didn't want to go to school. He didn't want to function. He just wanted to cry and hold his head and be in a ball in my room. So this was all happening leading up to Friday.
Mm-hmm.
And then at about 11 a.m. on Friday, first of all, I took Friday off work because on Thursday I knew we don't know what to do.
And you're
So,
not sleeping, and he's not sleeping.
I'm up all night. I'm holding him. I'm rocking him. He's calling me at work. He's calling me on, Mom, I need you. Mom, I need you. And then of course you become the dependent.
Yeah.
Once you're the dependent, no one else matters except for you. He needs to be near you. Friday at 11 a.m., my husband and I were like, we'd already talked to the GP. We had done, the therapist called me, his therapist, and said, this is out of my league now. Like, you need to go one step further. So we took him to the hospital. And
I texted you and I was like, how's it going? If I hadn't heard from you. And you're like, we're at the hospital. And I was like,
the ER.
Holy shit.
Yeah. And of course, like, you know how it is. There is a pediatric area at Michael Garron, which is amazing. And we got in within 2 hours.
Yeah.
But then they needed to see a specific psychiatrist, psychotherapist, I think. And that took 24 hours to get. So
Joel was you were both with him first.
Yeah. Then I left to come and to do our event. And he, at that point, got a room. And then after the event, I went right back to the psych ward. He was in the psych ward.
Mm-hmm.
And with my heels makeup on from the event.
Your smoky eye.
My smoky eye. So I'm in a bathroom with, if you've ever been in a psych ward, it's quite like, honestly, I feel like I learned so much. Like there's no handles on the sinks. There's no door handles. You have to get buzzed in and out. You're not allowed phone chargers. Your devices have to be charged behind the nurse's studio. They come in every hour with flashlights on your faces to make sure you're still breathing. Like it's actually
intense.
It is intense. And I go in there. They only give you 2 chairs. They only have a bed for Cole. And I bring my sleeping bag and make a bed out of 2 chairs and wake up in the morning to finally see the doctor we've been waiting for. And I look like a raccoon. like my eye makeup is like halfway down my face. And she's like looking at Cole, trying to have a conversation with him privately, but he won't leave my side. So that doesn't work. And she's like, is the home life okay? And I'm thinking, she's looking at my goddamn eyes. She's thinking I'm like some girl who goes out till like 4 in the morning and then shows up with her son a little hungover, which I wasn't. I just had makeup on for our event.
Of course.
Yes.
Well, I mean, yeah. And we're going to still continue on with this story, but just as a side note, I mean, you're such a trooper. I mean, we talked a little bit. I was like, Josie, I mean, if you need to cancel this, we can cancel this.
I know.
But you wanted to go forward, and at least Cole had Joel and he's in the right place. But it was hard. You were very, like, I think you were very weepy, which is very unlike you.
I know.
And I recognize like how much bigger, like I'm a weepy person by nature. So for you to be at that point where you were crying, I feel like throughout the entire time you were getting makeup on.
I know. And I was crying and I was like, oh my God. Well, because you feel so helpless. And then like, you know, I mean, we've talked about this on the show. So you feel so helpless and so worried. Yeah. And I hope things are going to get better.
Well, things have turned a corner. So I think people should know that what the med balance that he's on right now is working, which is amazing.
I don't know if we're going to stay on it. Anyone who has OCD knows that like he is on a psychotic medication right now, a very low dose. So we don't really want to keep him on that. So we're going to have to find other tools to figure it out. But at least right now, he said to me today in the car that he said, this is the happiest I've been in 5 years.
Oh,
that's what he said to me in the car. It's like, so he's been really struggling for a very, very long time.
Well, I know people were really, really wanting to know because we did mention it at the end of the live podcast. Because we felt like, again, part of what we do here is trying to bring light onto things that people don't talk about. This is something that it didn't make sense to keep it, under wraps.
I'm so grateful for you because it's like in any other scenario, it would almost be like a work colleague. And I really leaned on you this week. Like even at the event, I know I wasn't talking as much as you were. You were like taking the lead and I leaned on you. You did so much. You got all the prizes. You organized and that's not like me, like I usually am pretty like involved in everything, but I really leaned on you. And it's nice to be able to do it in an environment where you're not worried that people are going to judge you for, you know what I mean?
No.
For not stepping up.
fuck.
Because I
I mean-
definitely did not step up compared to you. I did not step up.
You were stepping up to your life. And also you held my hand through burnout. So, I mean, it's the very least I can do. My God. But that's what you do. This is how women hold each other up.
Yeah.
Fucking A, you women and men showed up to our
God,
event, and it was so many lovely stories, and you know, stood in a line afterwards, and we took pictures.
Oh my God, that line thing! I was like, so basically, this is what Cynthia does on the social, where she has all the like after the entire audience, they come and take pictures, and I was like standing there going, no one wants to come up and take pictures.
But they did.
It was so nice.
So nice. But afterwards, because things kind of went fast and we told stories and whatever, there were a few things we didn't get to at the time. And I feel like we should, because I went through the questions and I pulled out the ones that I thought were the most like ripe for conversation. And can I go? Please. I gotta put my glasses for a second. Sorry. This is where we're at. Okay. Oh, I don't know if I should dive in with that one. Okay, I'm going to start with this one because I think it was written from a man who wrote, male intimate relationships should be normalized, non-sexual bromances. And I'm sorry, I need everyone listening, including you, to talk right now about DTF St. Louis, the show.
I haven't seen it.
It's on
Joel
Crave.
Saw it and was like, he thought it was something different and then he turned it off.
Oh my God, it's Jason Bateman. It is that guy from Stranger Things who had the relationship with Lily Allen. What's his name? David Harbour. David Harbour.
From Stranger Things. Yeah.
And the two of them become really good friends. And I don't want to spoil too much. It seems like a murder mystery.
Okay.
But it's ultimately I loved it. And I think it's at its core a story about male vulnerability and male like bromances.
Okay.
And it is so, I've never seen anything like it, because as this person says, like, you think about it. Am I boring you? Am I boring you here? Someone out there right now is not bored by this.
I know. I love this. I yawned because I've been up for a while. Go.
We have sons. And one of my biggest fears is that they are going to not know how to connect intimately with anyone other than their spouses if he's straight.
Yeah.
Jason doesn't have a lot of close guy friends. They've disappointed him. I just don't think they learn how to do this. And it doesn't come naturally to them. Gay men, it does. Mm-hmm. And I just think it's so important. That's kind of
like, Joel has so many guy friends. I don't know what's up with him.
Here's the question, and I'm not going to say that I don't know. Yeah. But are they sitting around and actually, like, if you see this show, the way that they talk to each other, the way that we just did right now before we got into this, which was like, I admire you. I think you're an incredible mom. I will hug you and I will hold you up while you cry. They don't.
But they do show up.
Okay, fine.
Like when Joel was at the hospital on Friday, he didn't have me, so his like best friend came and brought him like food and blood.
Okay, I'm glad to hear that.
So they do show up for each other a lot. Actually.
I think the next step is just like actually, being like hugging each other and talking about things. And anyway, I think we need to encourage this so that it's not immediately still there's so much homophobia and like almost
so they're too scared to get like close with a guy, because then all of a sudden people are going to judge that.
Yeah, exactly. Even grown ass men who know that they don't even care if people think they're gay. They don't still. Okay, here's a question. How would you tell a close friend you're worried about their weight?
You wouldn't.
No.
That's up for them to figure it out.
Are you telling, first of all, we don't know in this question if the person has gained weight or lost weight, but some direction of change.
You can push them to go to a doctor. You can say, like, I've noticed nothing about their weight, but something about something different. But I don't think you can ever say that to anyone.
I'm trying to think about what I would do if I saw an extreme situation with someone. I don't think I would ever comment on someone's.
You can do it to a child, I think. Like, you can do it to your kids. Like, my mom could do it to me. I don't think I could do it maybe to a sister or maybe to a brother, but I don't think a friend can do that.
I think maybe I might check in and be like, how are you? Are you okay? But you're still not addressing it. I'm with you. I think it's too. I
don't think it's your I don't think that I think that's a slippery slope. And
although what if somebody like, here's the thing, when we've talked on the podcast before about our kind of developing eating disorder back in 2021 or 2020, somewhere in there. I do think maybe I would have benefited, and I did. I think there were a few people who said to me, actually, I remember my friend Tyrone saying to me, he hugged me and he went, you're going too far. And he said, like, you're going too far. And he didn't have to
But
say.
that's a little different. I don't know why, but this is it's different when someone says you're too skinny versus you're too fat.
Well, okay, let's unpack that for a minute.
Well, that's the way we have all grown up. We're all idolizing skinnier people.
God, and I hope that's
Like,
changing.
that's true.
I hope that that's changing with, like, I've seen a
It
lot of
isn't
good
yet.
content online talking about, like, the fucking Epstein files and connecting our completely messed up ways in which we look at body based on, like, again, men who don't like women, grown women. Anyway, but I think if someone gained a bunch of weight and you were, but
You can't say I'm worried about you. You've gone too far.
no, you can't.
You can't.
No.
No.
So you think it's kind of acceptable to comment on somebody if you feel like they're getting too, I mean, it is a bit, it shows
Getting too skinny, it's not really acceptable, but it's more tolerable. It's more, you know what I mean? I can digest that more versus someone saying you gotten too fat. I'd be like, fuck you.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm here with you.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's a real controversial one, guys. This
Okay.
is such an unmentionable, and I don't think you've
Let me get some water for this one. Okay.
So this person wrote to us, I'm a woman, and I think the slogan, quote, believe all women, is potentially dangerous as it presumes that women don't lie. For example, think of the woman who falsely accused 14-year-old Emmett Till of making improper advances, ultimately leading to his murder. So if people don't know that story, that's a story that happened in, I believe, the deep south of the United States. I can't remember exactly the time frame, the 50s maybe. And it's true that kid was falsely accused of doing something to a white woman, and it led to his murder.
I mean, I know someone personally who's lost their job because they were accused of sexual assault, and then 10 years later, the person accused two other people of sexual assault went to court, and she was basically, they were innocent and she was guilty.
She was found guilty of lying.
So, yeah. And this person lost their entire career.
I tend to agree with this. And it's hard to say that because I think for so long, so many women.
I think it's numbers though, too. I think like if there are more than one person who is saying something, are victims of somebody, then you have to open your eyes.
But that's the question. Like, how many victims do you need before women are believed? Just two?
I think two. I mean, I want to believe one, but I want to believe one. It's hard. This is a hard fucking question.
I know. Sorry.
This is a hard question because I want to believe the person. I want to believe one. But yes, you're right. Like sometimes there's exceptions.
I mean, I think the statistics bear out that it is very rare for a woman to actually lie.
Especially when they have like what it's not like the attention is a good attention.
No.
For any of us.
No.
Like if we go and say this man did something to me, it's not like we're getting a reward.
No.
For coming forward.
You think about what happened to the women who came forward with the Jian Ghomeshi. You think about the woman who came forward with the Hockey Canada scandal. They would have been, I mean, absolutely eviscerated on the stand. They would have,
like I just talked to Jennifer Valentine. I just saw her the other day and she came forward over John Derringer and she said that.
So I think you want to explain this for people who don't know.
Yeah. So this is a radio situation where there was a man, John Derringer, who was a broadcaster who treated, I think, not just women, but women and men pretty poorly in the studio. And there was a lawsuit against the company who hired him, Chorus Entertainment, and the Canadian Rights and Tribunal something brought it forward. Anyway, she had to go on the stand, and she was treated pretty horrifically on the stand.
Yeah.
Saying that she wasn't good at her job, saying that this and this happened and that her ratings were horrible and all these things, right? So it's not like it's not fun
to come forward. And I think that because of that, we want more women to come forward with these stories and more men to behave better, like in those situations. So while I do agree that the slogan "Believe all women" it can't be a blanket statement. I do think there's still some value in believing women more and understanding that you don't need a ton of examples to hear women's experience. I guess it's all like everything else, though. There's shades of gray and there's nuance to be had. Are we done with that? Because I have two more things that I want to bring. Maybe one more thing to bring.
I can't.
Are we ready for this?
Yeah.
I just got to unlock my computer, my dirty computer. Okay. Someone wrote in, and this was another question. How are women supposed to cope with finally achieving the career goals we spent decades chasing, only to realize we might not want them anymore? I'm in my mid 40s. I'm raising 2 teens, navigating perimenopause, carrying most of the mental load at home, and working more hours than I probably should. And lately, I keep having this unsettling thought: what if the thing I worked so hard for no longer fits the life I actually want? Sometimes I feel guilty for even thinking that, like I should be grateful I got here. But I also know I can't be the only woman quietly wondering, is success supposed to feel this exhausting?
I know a lot of women who feel like that. A lot of women who get to the point, get to the place they want to be, and then they're like, yeah, I got it. Cool. Now what? Right? I do know a lot of women like that.
I think that this comes from when you're, and I worry about this for you sometimes.
I don't worry about this for me.
But it's the
I'll
chase.
tell you why,
It's
because
the chase.
I where I see a lot of this happen to a lot of people, but I don't see this happening to me or my mom, which is fine, but I do see it happening to a lot of people. It's for me, it's not the chase, it's like the drive and the passion. And I love what I do. I freaking love what I do. So yes, but for a lot of other people, so many friends, even now, they get to a point where they're like, ugh, I got it, but do I want it?
Well, I think this goes back to, we've talked about this in the podcast before, is that a lot of people don't spend the time in their life thinking about, like, what are my top core values, or what do I want out of life? What do I want my life to look like in the 5-year, 10-year, blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
And really checking in, because this person may have been, I was listening to this interview recently where these guys were talking about how so many people just get on a treadmill and then they hop over to just a different treadmill.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels like progress because maybe they're getting a little bit more money, or they're getting
better treadmill.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's all, you're still on a treadmill. And unless it really, really aligns with the life you want to have, it's actually going to mess you up in the long run. The story that, I'm not going to get the story completely right, but these guys were talking about how there was this one guy who I believe is a really successful executive, doing really well by all outside measures. But the thing was, is that I think he had a brother who had autism. And what he really wanted, his brother was having a really hard time functioning in society.
Mm-hmm.
And so he took, this guy took his money and he decided instead to invest in a bunch of car washes. And then he employed not only his brother, but also a whole bunch of people on the autism spectrum to run these car washes, and had this incredibly successful business. And he himself was so much happier because suddenly he'd found this alignment that was like, actually, my brother is more important to me than is all of these things that I was doing in the corporate world. I might be bastardizing this story a slight bit, but this is what I remember out of it. And I think that those are the questions. And so I'd ask this person, like, what type of work, like, were you just chasing goals? And I also think it's okay for women to get to midlife and be like, you know what? I've worked my ass off. I'm going to rest on my laurels a bit.
My mom right now is, she does not love the cruise. She's on Croatia, but she loves Croatia.
Okay.
And she loves Italy.
Okay.
And she's just like, I could be a full-time traveler. And I'm like, Mom, you're 77 years old.
I love that.
You should have been a full-time traveler 10 years ago. But yeah, like I think that there are a lot of people who work. And I think that they do get tired of the grind and the corporate ladder. My niece, who, is working towards med school, had her first day today in a lab, which she worked so hard to get there. And she didn't love it. She didn't love it.
Oh, that's interesting.
And I want to call my sister and be like, she's in first year at Yale. She could do anything she wanted.
Yes.
Are we sure this is what she wants to do? Because she's 19 years old right now. She's going to jump on this treadmill, and then she's going to have to move from treadmill to treadmill. Is this the right treadmill she wants to get on?
I almost think it should be like a job of all of us every 2 to 5 years, depending on what age you're at, to do a full check-in, because your company's not going to do it for you.
No,
to actually do a whole thing.
Yeah.
Where am I? How happy
do
am
I
I
like
with
this?
Do I like this?
Yeah. Could I be doing something different?
That's right.
Financially, can I afford to do something different?
It was also this interview I was listening to. It was James Patterson, that famous novelist, who he was, I think, side hustling. He was in advertising and he was writing novels on the side. And then one day I think he was driving to New Jersey. And then he realized it was on the weekend, or he was driving into New York. He was driving into Manhattan, and all the other drivers were actually driving like much more smoothly when they were going out to like the suburbs. And he's like, I actually would rather be on that side of the highway
than this
and
one.
so it was like his realization. And so he
just became James Patterson.
Exactly.
Wrote a billion
books and became probably a billionaire.
Yes.
So anyway, not all of us will be that story. Okay. this is the final one that I want to
Okay.
share. I thought
Okay.
it was great.
Yeah.
So someone wrote in and said, because we were asking for confessions or questions, and someone wrote in and said, for me, the most unmentionable thing has been choosing to stay in my marriage.
Oh, we talked about this, didn't we? Did we
did
talk
not.
about this?
No. Not because things were
It's
perfect.
great.
They weren't. We
Yeah.
spent years feeling more like roommates than partners. But what surprised me was how much more socially acceptable it feels to leave. Starting over can be seen as brave and exciting. Staying and rebuilding, that story is quieter, less glamorous. My husband and I are trying to figure out what marriage 2.0 looks like. After 26 years together, and honestly, some of the hardest parts haven't been inside the marriage. It's been navigating everyone else's expectations. There's so much conversation about leaving, but not enough about how hard it is to stay or how complicated both choices can be.
So summarize that. What was the first sentence you just said?
For me, the most unmentionable thing has been choosing to stay in my marriage.
Choosing to stay in your marriage is more unmentionable than leaving. And I think in 2026, that's probably true.
Mm-hmm.
It absolutely is. And I think about things like that all the time. And I think about, okay, so if we broke up, would I find anyone better, or would I find someone who just has different shitty problems? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Problems that we have to deal with. And I think for me, that I have more fun with my husband than I do with anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
So there's more good than bad. And I think that's a realistic approach to look at a marriage. I actually think the people who have the best marriage in the world, sometimes they're the ones that are going to crumble.
I interestingly, right? Because I think it's inevitable that some things will come up in life that are going to shake your foundation.
I think there's also the power dynamic, and the people who brag about being in these fantastic relationships are probably the person who probably is in lust more. Right? Like they're in that, or in love, whatever you want to call it. And that's when things do crumble more.
It is interesting, though, to think about how this stigma changed, because for a long time, like in my mother's generation or my grandmother's generation, if you were to break up your family to divorce, that was seen as like earth shattering. It was the thing that neighbors would be gossiping about, right? And that was not a fair or a fun time to live through. And so we shifted, and then it became the empowering thing of like, you go, girl. If he's not doing this enough for you, you leave and you go and you blah, blah, blah.
Well, my
you
sister
deserve.
still waited when her and her boyfriend broke up. They were common law with kids. She still wanted to wait until my parents were dead before she did it. And then finally she couldn't wait any longer. And she's like, okay, I'm just going to do this. Because she felt the shame of my family
ending a relationship. So there still probably is that stigma,
yes.
But I see more and more, I feel like in social media, these stories of like divorce parties and like,
yes.
celebrating
your singlehood.
And it is an interesting thing to think about, like that,
just working through it,
or even not working through it. Like in some cases, maybe just deciding that like you're staying together because it makes sense, whether it's financially, socially, for the kids. I mean, because it just sounds like it doesn't sound like it's bad. It sounds like it's like mediocre bad.
Yeah.
And it's hard because I think we're all brought up with this idea. Yes.
With these dreams.
No one must be mediocre.
No, we have these dreams of these perfect relationships. And I think the reason sometimes I am so honest and so like, my husband, and I probably, like, I have a good relationship, but I probably really emphasize that part because I want other people to feel like they can relate.
I agree.
Because I think that they are out there. I think more people are out there that don't love their relationship as much as they're supposed to than the opposite.
Well, I think it's being honest about all of the shades of like, darkness. Yeah. I mean, I also feel the same way. I'm in a great relationship and we know each other so well. And we've gone through some of the most difficult and challenging phases, and particularly in the last like 6 to 8 months. And I have faith that we can work through it, and I want to work through it. But I can also relate to an idea of like sometimes questioning myself. I'm like, if I don't know, I'm going to want to keep this in, but if
it doesn't work out,
not even if it doesn't work out, if it's like, I want him and I to want to work for this equally. I don't want myself to be working for this harder than he is. And I don't want him to be working harder. Like, I think we both have work to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to do it with gusto.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this is just navigating, like, are you both doing, as she put it in this note, marriage 2.0?
Yep.
I think Esther Perel, that sex therapist I talk about a lot, she said, like, sometimes people have to decide, like, when they're breaking up a relationship or whatever, it's like, are you either going to choose, this happens in the wake of like an affair a lot of times, but it's like, are you either going to choose to leave and start a new relationship with someone else, or are you going to choose to stay and start a new relationship with the person that you've been with the whole time?
That is so true, because a really good friend of mine had a divorce. He said the divorce was horrible. And after he questioned, why did I do this? Because first of all, the divorce process was so horrible. And then he said he would never remarry. Now he's remarried with a brand new child, and his child is a couple years old. And I had a call with him the other day, and he said that it's been really hard, and it's just as hard as the first relationship.
You heard it here first, guys. You heard it here first.
There you go.
Jay. Sometimes just stay.
Sometimes it's like the grass is always greener,
Yeah.
or the opposite. I don't know.
Maybe you guys have stories too. Again, we had such a great time at the live podcast. We will do more events, we promise. I know a lot of people have reached out and said, oh, I couldn't make it, I can't wait for the next one. Stay tuned. We have more to get through. And again, thanks to everybody for listening.
Thank you so much for coming. That was so cool. I hope people really enjoyed it. That's the one thing I keep messaging my friends going, did you like it? But did you have fun? But did you really have fun?
They did.
I don't know. Are you faking it? Did you have fun?
Send us your messages. And always, we want to hear from you. We love hearing your unmentionable confessions and unmentionable questions as well. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.